Prime Minister, thank you very much for joining Bloomberg News today.
Great pleasure to be on Bloomberg News.
You've adopted a version of Labour's windfall tax. Is this going to add as an extra inflationary pressure?
Well, this is very different because what we're doing is making sure that we continue to encourage businesses to invest. So the firms that will be paying the levy have the opportunity to abate their contributions by 91p in the pound for every investment that they make, and so it's very important that we continue to drive investment and jobs. But I also think when you look at on the fiscals, on the money that we're putting into people's pockets, it's a lot. 8 million households will get £1,200, £400 for helping people with their energy, £300 for pensioners who benefit from cold weather payments. Now, it's big potatoes. It's a lot of money, but it is commensurate with the scale of the pressure that people are facing. And so when you ask correctly, Kitty, is this going to have an inflationary impact in itself? I think the answer is we don't think so, because basically it will be more than absorbed by the increase in the costs that people are facing.
You talk about companies investing, but BP have said this morning that actually they're going to look again at investment in the UK. How do you react to that?
I think that we will have a regime that is going to continue to encourage companies to invest, and I've talked to the heads to Bernard Looney, to Ben Van Beurden of Shell, several others, and I'm confident the UK will continue to be incredibly attractive investment, and not least in green technology, and both BP and Shell are keen to do that. And what we're setting out with the package is the investment framework for them to continue to drive jobs and growth, and to tackle inflation in the medium term. To try to deal in the immediate term, you've got to deal with supply side issues, and so we need the energy companies to be putting some more into hydrocarbons, but we also need the whole country to be investing in more low carbon energy.
Yesterday's announcement acts as an incentive to buy gas and oil, doesn't it, or to produce gas and oil?
Well, I think that we're going to need some. Kitty, I don't think we can turn our backs entirely on hydrocarbons, and the UK actually has a flourishing sector in the northeast of Scotland. It's very important. We've got to keep that going. I think one of the lessons of the current spike is we can't afford to be totally dependent on Putin's hydrocarbons, but at the same time we've got to accelerate our drive for low carbon energy. So if you look at the British energy security strategy, 50 gigawatts of wind by 2030, 25 gigawatts of nuclear by 2050. And these are big increases in low carbon energy. And what they offer is a big platform for investment from overseas.
Okay.
And what I find in the last few weeks is a real appetite from international investors to put money in long-term infrastructure projects in the UK, particularly in the green energy sector.
Okay, can I ask you about high spending? Do you risk getting the public addicted to high spending? Just quickly, what happens if the war in Ukraine continues and this time next year there are still high energy prices?
I think that the package that we've set out in the last couple of days, the package that Rishi set out, as I say, it's big potatoes. It's a very considerable commitment to help the British people to do what we did in the pandemic, put our arms around people, get them through the surge in energy prices, and we think that it will last until prices start to abate, and I'm confident that they will. I think that supply will start to improve, and the humanities always fertile in expedience and immensely resourceful in coming up with solutions. We will find new ways of getting energy on stream, not least in this country. But in the meantime, we're going to have a difficult period. And we've got to be absolutely clear with people. It is going to be difficult. And the government cannot solve every problem. And we can't cover everybody's extra cost. But what we can do is make sure that we deal with the underlying causes of inflation, but also keep our economy strong and open to investment. And so the things we need to make sure we do as we continue to have...
you say the economy is strong, but do you think we're headed towards recession?
I think that we can, absolutely not necessarily at all. I think that there are ways forward for the UK that are incredibly exciting. So if we make sure that we have a proactive approach to talent from abroad, we want to control immigration, but allow the talent that we need to come in. We fix our energy supply issues. We fix the issues in the UK labour market. I mean, one of the incredible things about the economy right now is that unemployment is at its lowest level since I was 10 years old.
That's driving a wage spiral in the private sector, isn't it?
So that's why you've got to be flexible when it comes to talent from overseas.
Right.
You've got to control it. What you've also got to do is make use of the talent that we have in this country, and so that's why this government is so focused on skills, and jobs. We've got at the moment, and you're right, we've got at the moment more vacancies in our economy than we have unemployment. But that doesn't mean that we can't get people off welfare and into work and try to fix the problem that way. So that is what we're doing. And on the way to work scheme that we launched in January, we've now got 347,000 people off welfare and into work, and we want to drive for 500,000 by the end of June. That's a big number.
Just quickly, so people, nurses, people driving this train, they're facing calls for wage restraint. You talked to your cabinet about that last week, I think. How can you say to those people, actually, you're the one who's acting as a lever on the economy? Are you expecting by keeping inflation down?
Yeah, so look, I think that what we want is a high wage, high skill economy, but the increases in wages have got to be driven by productivity gain and not simply by inflation. And what we don't want to see is a return to the wage price spiral that we saw in the 1970s. And we can do that if we invest in skills, we invest in infrastructure, and in technology. So look, we're about to go to Darlington.
Yeah.
Can I talk about Darlington for 10 seconds?
Go on.
And it's part of our levelling up agenda to try to drive jobs and growth everywhere and to unleash opportunity everywhere.
Okay, we've got a levelling up tracker, Bloomberg has.
Yes.
And we've done a bit of work on Darlington, and compared to when you were elected in 2019, the wage gap with people in the southeast has widened by 3.4%. So you're not levelling up, really, are you?
Well, of course, the economy has faced colossal headwinds. We had the biggest fall in output for 300 years, and we've now got a cost of living pressure caused by the global energy price spikes. But what we're doing is doing the things that will make a huge difference for the long term. So we've moved the Treasury campus and economic campus to Darlington. We're putting in better rail, better broadband. Do you know that the integrated rail plan will shave the time from Birmingham to Darlington from Birmingham to Darlington, you don't want to hear this, from Birmingham to Darlington by 90 minutes, from Manchester to Darlington by half an hour. And connectivity makes the difference, and it drives jobs. So what you're seeing in Darlington now is firms investing, a new hydrogen firm, an aviation firm coming in and driving high-wage, high-skilled jobs. And I just repeat, in case I didn't say it earlier on in this interview, unemployment is at its lowest level.
Yes, you did say that, yes.
And youth unemployment at or near record lows. So although there are... the point I'm trying to make here is although this country, like the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, faces economic pressures caused by energy price spikes, the strength of our labour market, the economic fundamentals, fundamentals, I think, mean that we will be able to get through this very, very well.
Okay, you're talking about the economic fundamentals, but you've got the highest tax burden since the 1950s. You just introduced a windfall tax, which wasn't done since Tony Blair's administration.
No, hang on a minute. There was a windfall tax on the. This is actually a levy that is designed to trigger investment, but the George Osborne and the coalition government introduced a windfall tax on oil and gas when they came in. So,
all right, but George Osborne also talked about austerity, and you're just spending. Is this socialism in all but name?
No, of course not, because I think that everybody can see that the people are under particular pressure, and I'm a one-nation conservative, and I think conservatives of all kinds, even the conservatives of most extreme free market variety, can see that when you've got an increase in people's energy bills of £1,200, or when the price cap is going up for £800, people on modest incomes. Average incomes simply can't afford that.
You're not the best Labour Prime Minister we never had.
You've got to help them. But what we're also doing, just to remind you, is we've brought in the super deduction for capital investment of 130%. We've got cuts in national insurance contributions for 70% of the people who pay it. Business rate cuts for.
Okay. Can I just ask you about the Bank of England?
And what that is doing is triggering huge amounts of investment into this country.
Can I just ask you about the government's relationship with the Bank of England?
Yes.
Do you expect Andrew Bailey to do more to help with inflation?
Look, I think it's very, very important that the governor of the bank and the bank should be able to get on with their work without political interference. Over the last 25 years, they've done an outstanding job of keeping inflation at about keeping interest rates at about 2%. And that's very important.
Do you think he should do more?
I think it's the Bank of England has got a job to do. I don't want to interfere with them. What we need to do is get the fiscal stuff right, and we need to get the supply side stuff right. So that's what the government is there to do. So we're making sure that we have targeted support right now, targeted, timely, temporary support in a big way, a big way to help people through the current pressures.
Okay, so you've got.
And
can I change the subject, please?
Address the underlying issues.
Can I change the subject now? I think.
Well, no, I wouldn't. But anyway,
you wouldn't agree, okay?
No.
Do you think voters have forgiven you, and how do you think this will play out at the next election?
I think my golden rule about politics is, I think the more you can be talking about the things that we're doing for voters, and the less you can talk about stuff going on at Westminster, the better off everybody is. We need to get on with our agenda. We've been getting on with it continuously throughout the pandemic and beyond.
Your whole shtick is that you are an affable guy, you connect with people, and if the trust is gone, do you think that you're going to cost your party seats? I mean, Don Brad might lose his seat, Steve Baker might lose his seat.
I think the best thing that I can possibly do under any circumstances is just get on and deliver on the mandate I was given in 2019, in which I passionately believe to unite and level up our country and to deliver on a huge agenda. So if you go back to where we are now and look at the stuff that's happened, and people can read the reports and all that, fine. But look at what we did. We had the biggest pandemic for a century or more. We had the fastest vaccine rollout anywhere in Europe.
Sure, but you still broke the law.
And we had we were the first country to get any kind of approved vaccine into anybody's arms. Yeah. And on that point, people can study the report, and they can make their own minds up about my involvement, and they can look at that photo and they can. I leave it to people to decide. But what I want to do is get on with protecting people now with the package that we have, and it's very considerable, and we can only do it because we have the fiscal firepower to help people right now. We have that because we took the tough decisions that we did as we came out of COVID. We came out of lockdown in July last year, when some people were saying we should stay in. A lot of people were saying, the Labour Party was saying, stay in lockdown. And again, over Christmas and New Year, they said go back into lockdown.
Calling the Labour leader Sir Piers Cormer is hardly contrite, though, is it?
Look, I think that Kitty, if you buy your leave, I'm not going to spend a second more talking about that stuff right now.
All right, let's talk about Ukraine.
I really want to focus on what we're doing to take our economy forward. Protecting people now, fixing the supply side issues, particularly energy supply, but also getting massive investment in jobs. And the UK is Bloomberg, I know, is watched by people who are thinking about where to put their investment. I would say come to the UK, look at the programme, the vast smorgasbord of stuff that we're doing that is going to attract brilliant long-term yields. And just the other day, the Qataris put another £10 billion in. We got about £28 billion from Australian investors. Look at the tech sector.
Did you do a deal about the London Stock Exchange with the Qataris?
Look at the tech sector alone. £29 billion coming in tech. I think that's of interest to Bloomberg viewers.
Yes, of course it
is. And more than France, Germany, Israel combined. And that's because we have fantastic workforce.
Can we move slightly further east?
Fantastic innovation. And yes, let's
talk about Ukraine, shall we?
Yeah.
There's a lot of chatter at the moment about clearing the Black Sea ports of mines and what the UK could do to help. I just wondered what your current thinking was on that.
I think there's a absolutely appalling situation, which is so much of the world is facing food price inflation, if not actual shortages of food, caused by what's going on in Ukraine, caused by Putin's war of choice. He decided to invade Ukraine. He had no reason to do it, and it's he who is making it difficult to get 25 million tons of grain from those Black Sea ports, particularly from Odessa. And that's 25 million tons is equivalent to the entire grain consumption of the poorest countries in the world. And we've got to get it out. And I see that Putin is suggesting that he will do it in return for the world lifting their sanctions on him. Well, I think he is simply not a valid interlocutor. He continually breaks his. He said he wasn't going to invade Ukraine 2 days before he did it. The guy's completely not to be trusted. What we need to look at, and this is what the UK is doing with international partners, is ways of helping the Ukrainians to demine the approaches to the harbour, demine the harbour in Odessa.
So how are we going to offer military support to do that?
That will be something that they have to do themselves.
So the British Navy's not going to help them do that?
As you know, under the Montreux Convention, there's no access to other navies now. The Turks are policing that very strictly, and quite rightly, by the way. But I think the Turks can play a big role. And I had a good conversation with President Erdogan about that a few days ago. I think the crucial things are going to be...
What did he say?
Well, I think that everybody's working on it very hard together. I won't pretend to you that there's an immediate solution that we can just do with the click of the fingers. But I think the ingredients are the demining, the maritime corridor out of Odessa, and making sure that we help the Ukrainians to have better control of the waters with shore-to-ship missiles and
so you might echo what Denmark's done and provide more missiles?
So I think and I can make a general point about what's happening in Ukraine, which is that I think it's very, very important that we do not get lulled because of the incredible heroism of the Ukrainians in pushing the Russians back from the gates of Kiev, because of their amazing valor of President Zelensky. We should not believe that this problem has gone away. On the contrary, I'm afraid that Putin, at great cost to himself and to Russian military, is continuing to chew through ground in Donbass. He's continuing to make gradual, slow, but I'm afraid palpable progress. And therefore, it is absolutely vital that we continue to support the Ukrainians militarily. And indeed, I think that what they need now is the type of rocketry, a multiple launch rocket system, MLRS, that will enable them to defend themselves against this very brutal Russian artillery.
Okay.
And that's where the world needs to go now.
Okay, final question, and this is about President Zelensky.
Yes.
You've stood shoulder to shoulder with him, but there's certain calls around Europe, perhaps from France, from Germany, to maybe settle with Putin, try and.
But I would say to any such proponent of a deal with Putin, how can you deal?
Yeah.
How can you deal with a crocodile when it's in the middle of eating your left leg? What's the negotiation? And that is what Putin is doing. And any kind of he will try to freeze the conflict. He will try and call for a ceasefire while he remains in possession of substantial parts of Ukraine.
And you say that to Emmanuel Macron?
And I make that point to all my friends and colleagues in the G7 and at NATO. And by the way, everybody gets that. Once you go through the logic, you can see that it's very, very difficult
to get
a negotiated solution. We desperately need it to end. The world needs it to end.
Yeah.
But the one way that it can end is for Putin to accept that, let us say that the denazification of Ukraine has taken place.
Oh, I see.
And that he's able to withdraw with dignity and honour. And that would be...
And
that's what needs to happen. I'm not saying that there were any Nazis in Ukraine.
No.
But I think one of the interesting things about the situation is the very strong support that Putin commands in Russia for for anything that he says or does.
Yeah.
I think he has the political margin of manoeuvre to make an end to this.
Thank you for talking to Bloomberg, Prime Minister.
Thank you.